Welcome to the Leading Conversations podcast, sponsored by the Excel Leadership Network. On each episode, J.D. Pairing will have conversations with church planting pastors and leaders from around the country. You can learn more about how to connect with Excel at the end of this podcast. Let's join J.D. now and listen in on this leading conversation.
Welcome to another edition of Leading Conversations with the Excel Leadership Network. And today we are shocked to have on the second most elusive guest we've ever efforted before. I'll tell you the most elusive if he ever comes on, but the second most is the great and mighty Sean Arisco from Sacramento, California. Sean, thanks for finally coming on with us.
Hey, I'm glad that we were finally able to make our schedules work out.
And I guess part of that is you're just not a podcast guy.
I don't really know much about podcasts. I haven't been on any podcasts, so I'm definitely more of a book guy, but I'm not really a podcast consumer. I think our church is on a podcast, but I've never seen it.
Okay, good. Hey, before we get into it, I want to ask you about your skating career. Weren't you a professional?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I was young, I was born in Phoenix, but my family moved to the Bay Area when I was young, and we lived on a private little street in Concord, and a gravel road. And so one year we got roller skates for Christmas, but we didn't have really anywhere to go with them. So my mom says, well, let me take my kids to the skating rink, and went through some lessons and got recruited into the whole roller figure skating world for the next 10 plus years of my life. So that was right up until I was about 18. So yeah.
What was your claim to fame in that?
Okay, so primarily it was about 5 years in, they started allowing people to skate on blades, Yeah. So instead of the four-wheel 2-axle skates. So I started on those, and for whatever reason, I was able to make the transition really well and ended up pretty much just like winning all the competitions in the country for that. And I got to travel and do some represent our country at the World Championships a few times, and I took a silver medal in Germany in 2015. So that's my claim to fame.
Wow. Do you still skate?
From time to time. I think, like a lot of folks maybe relate to that have been in what you might call like competitive sports at some point, especially in your teenage years. For me, my late teens, sort of stopped enjoying it. It was more like a chore.
Yeah.
And that's sort of one of the reasons why I hung them up. But so every once in a while I'll get out there and see what I can do. But it's maybe once every couple of years.
Well, we have to see this sometime, so send us a video.
We did a volunteer party a couple of years ago, and I had the whole staff do a whole like choreographed program together. I'll send you the video if I can find it.
Well, hey, tell us about growing up. Other than skating, how did you come to Christ?
Yeah, so I was a church kid. My parents are both first generation followers of Jesus. And so that's not totally true. I think both of their parents had some faith background, but it was kind of spotty. So my parents met at a church in Phoenix and got married there. And so we always attended church. I was very passionate about Jesus from an early age. I would preach to people in the grocery store, to my mom's chagrin. So we'd just be, going to the store and standing in line, and I would turn to the person behind us and say, hey, do you know Jesus? Because if not, you're going to hell. Mm-hmm. And so I think I read once about the circuit rider preachers, and I came to my mom one day and said, I'm going to take my bicycle. I'm going to ride around preaching about Jesus. She said, well, you better get off your training wheels first. So that was sort of young age, young experience of faith, just very passionate. But I think in my teenage years, definitely got distracted, wanted to do my own thing, and sort of, I guess, kind of identified as an agnostic or a Christian agnostic. Like, believe in Jesus, I believe what he did on the cross, but I don't really think that needs to apply to like what I do on Monday. Um, there's over 2 billion people at the time. Now there's more on the planet. I don't think he cares too much about what I do. So it's kind of a convenient way to do what I wanted to do. But about 15, almost 16 years old, I was invited to a youth revival meeting by some friends. And I got just rocked by the Holy Spirit. And um, for the first time, really knew that I was loved, that my Heavenly Father cared for me, that He was intimately involved in my life. And that sort of set a new trajectory for me. Started to engage in a lot of things with our youth group at the time, and started to pull away from the figure skating thing because it was sort of competing with the time that I wanted to do youth ministry stuff. I got involved in youth ministry leadership as a college kid. And so that was sort of, just the early days and the early journey. So,
That's amazing. How did you get involved in ministry? Was there a call or was it a natural thing?
yeah, I credit it to my mentor at the time, my youth pastor, who's still very involved with what we do with our church as an overseer and mentor to myself and my wife. But yeah, I think he met with me and said, "What do you think about being in ministry?" And I laughed and told him I would never do that. My intention was to go to Regent University in Virginia and get a law degree and go pursue like politics or something. I'm so glad I didn't do that. I would have been a terrible politician. So he convinced me to do a gap year after graduating. I graduated a year early. Part of my journey is I was also homeschooled, not because of like for political reasons or whatever. It was mainly because my oldest brother, is disabled. He has cerebral palsy. So, but he's also very high functioning mentally. So my parents were really trying to give him the best chance he had physically. So multiple times a week we would go to physical therapy and stuff for him. So we were always on the go. My mom could not handle that, and also school schedules. So we ended up homeschooling. So somehow through all that, I ended up graduating a year early. So he was like, "Why don't you burn that year with us? Like, get some biblical foundation." And so I took Bible college courses in this program. Started serving even more intently in ministry, and during that year is when I finally accepted that calling. It was actually on a mission trip to India. Um, so um, we're out in the sticks of Southeast India, preaching to thousands, probably 4,000 people there who had come from miles all day to be there from all the surrounding villages. And I was asked to just share a brief exhortation. And I think just something, that grace of God, what some may call the anointing of God, just kind of like comes, and you realize like, man, I was made for this. So um, ironically, like, preaching isn't my favorite thing, but in that moment, I knew like this is something that is more than just a gap year program for me. This is something that may be a lifelong vocation.
Well, that's interesting. We've talked a lot on this podcast about how so many people have a camp experience that
Yeah,
either leads them to Christ or sends them into ministry. And we have kind of, backed off the whole camp thing. People get busy. They don't take a week or weekends anymore. But one of my friends told me recently, he says, I think the short-term mission trip is the new camp experience.
yeah.
Because you can get people to consider that sometimes above going to a camp for a week. So that's crazy. You went to India.
Yeah, I love doing the short-term missions trips. For me, I love using them as almost a discipleship opportunity.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a team. They got to spend 12 weeks preparing, praying, memorizing scripture, learning how to minister different ways. And so they kind of get this like really intense few months of discipleship.
Accelerated discipleship. Yeah.
Yeah, accelerated discipleship. And the reorienting back into normal life after that, like any kind of intense program, could be tough because you kind of go on this spiritual high for several months and then it's kind of like, oh, now what? So we're trying to figure that piece out, but it's always been something that I love doing. So JD, if you ever want to plan a trip, I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay. That's great. My wife just told me yesterday, we went out to lunch and she said, yeah, I was thinking about, I want to take this big missions trip to Mexico or whatever. I was really excited, but I think I'm over it now. We got a lot going on right now. Hey, so you're in India, you get this like sense of call. Then what happened?
Yeah, from there, just kept serving. I ended up getting roped into a second year at the church. So they kind of designed this second year program. First year was for anyone coming out of high school, wanting to sort of prepare themselves for college. Second year was, hey, these are folks that we believe are potentially called to vocational ministry. So in the second year, you kind of choose your focus. So I chose youth ministry, and I was basically the youth ministry intern that year. So did a lot of preaching, leading teams, stuff like that from a youth pastor. So about a year after that, but at the end of that year, my wife and I were both interns for both years. So highly recommend Bible college or internship to find your spouse.
Is that how you met her?
So yes, well, I mean, we were part of the church together. We didn't really know each other until we spent some time in those programs. So yeah, so we started dating right after the second year. We had no dating rules, so we had to,
No
not
dating
date, but we really kind of did for the second year, and then started dating immediately following. So, yeah, so we started dating. I think a year after that, so about 2000 and gosh, this must be 2008. I was asked to come on as an associate youth pastor. So basically just continue being the intern, but get paid. So that was nice. And then a couple years after that, our youth pastor moved into an executive role. And so we started leading youth ministry in our church. So it's really a homegrown thing. During that time, I went to college at Patton University in Oakland. But I got a business degree.
Patton?
Yes. You know
George?
Patton?
George?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. No, Patton. BB Patton. She's an
BB.
evangelist from Oakland.
Okay, not George, not
George Patton. No, it's a little Christian college in Oakland, and it was just close to home, and they accepted my Bible college credits that I had already
good.
taken as sort of like the biblical requirements for their undergrad stuff. So so it's just kind of a convenience thing. But my dad didn't believe necessarily at the time that I would continue on the track towards ministry. So he sort of told me I had to get a real degree. So I got a business degree. But it actually came in handy because they had a program called organizational leadership, and you could emphasize your study in nonprofits. So it came in handy probably as much as my later seminary training, to learn sort of just the basics of how to lead a nonprofit, how to follow the laws, and basic HR stuff like that you need. Finances, marketing, all that stuff comes in handy when you go and start a church. So yeah.
Wow. So you're a youth pastor, and then what happens?
Yeah, so we did that for about 6 years there. Went through the ringer a little bit there. I think some personal hardship that was not necessarily brought on by external factors, but more just what was happening inside of me. So went through a tough season there and tough season with my leadership there. And they were also going through a lot personally. So just kind of like this mixed mash of people going through difficulty and not really aligning. So we finally feel released from the Lord to leave. That was in 2015. So we didn't know where we were going. We just knew that the Lord said it's time to go. So um, I was actually on the bus coming back from youth camp, speaking of camps. And things had actually gotten much better. Things were finally in a good place after years of sort of difficulty with our role there and just even our personal life as it was affected by our role at the church. And so we finally kind of turned a corner there. Things had gotten much better. And then I'm on the bus. I took a nap. I don't know about you, JD, but the Lord speaks to me just as I'm waking up from a nap, oftentimes, or even while I'm sleeping. And I don't know if that's because I'm getting old. You know, scripture says old men will dream dreams, but I find that I don't listen well enough when I'm fully alert. So the Lord has to like catch me right as I'm waking up and speak to me. So I'm just waking up from my nap and the Lord says, okay, now you can leave. I'm like, well, where are we going to go? So long story short, we end up in Stockton doing youth, young adult, running our own internship program, similar to the one that I had been raised and gone through as a college kid for a few years. But while we were there, this is in Stockton, we had this conversation early about how Jen and I felt like there was this call to church plant. We weren't super sure of it, but we felt like that might be our following next step. And the good news about the church we were partnering with and serving, pastors we were serving, is they were really looking for a short-term thing from us. They wanted somebody to structure their youth ministry and young adult ministry of a growing church, raise up some young leaders to sort of take over. They already had their eye on some folks. And so we really just came in for 3 years, served, trained some leaders, and then they sent us out to plant, and we ended up coming up to Sacramento.
Wow, that's interesting. Tell me something good about Stockton. Stockton, California is just kind of a weird place, and I talk to people about Stockton. Usually, it's like, ooh. So, what's something good about Stockton, California?
Okay. The good thing about Stockton, California is the police have other things to do. So you can drive however you want.
That's it. That's it, folks. That's the positive.
Yeah. We excuse me. We when we got up here, I had to relearn how to drive. Like I got a couple of warnings in the mail with pictures of me breaking laws. And I was like, I guess I need to relearn how to follow the rules. So that was probably the best part about Stockton, just to do whatever you want on the road. Nobody cares.
That's hilarious. That's like, okay, that's good to know. That's good to know when I drive through Stockton.
Yeah.
So you move up to Sacramento to the wonderful metropolis of Elk Grove, California, which is a great place to live.
Yes, sir.
Plant a church. Talk about that experience.
Yeah. So, you know, young, dumb, and crazy a little bit. We decided we're going to parachute into Sac. We knew nobody at the time except one friend that had recently moved up here, and I had one pastor friend in town who was Tim Biddle from Society Church. Not Tim Biddle, sorry, Tim Coburn.
Okay.
So, yeah, Tim Biddle is my buddy in San Francisco. Anyway,
so you knew Tim.
I know a lot of Tims.
You knew Tim beforehand.
Yeah, so we had met at different church plant conferences that we had attended together. Just kind of rolled in loosely connected circles together from time to time. So when we first moved here, he was one of the first people I messaged and met with for coffee, and just said, "Hey, we're here in town," and they were super supportive. Yeah, so we knew nobody other than that.
You should check out Tim's podcast interview. We did that.
Oh, yeah?
Not too long ago. Yes.
I will check it out. Yeah. Great guy. So we moved up here. Let's see, that was in 2019. So Easter week of 2019, we moved to Sac, and we were ready to go. And we got this launch large strategy. We're going to go big. And I think before launch, we'd already spent something around $40,000-$50,000 just in like pre-launch activities, marketing, events, just trying to get anybody who would listen to us to coffee um, out here. Um, did a lot of family events to try to attract young families, and then present to them what our church was all about. Um, and so let's see, we got maybe a launch team of about 40 or so, ragtag bunch. A few came with us from Stockton, a handful, and some are still with us, which is great. Some still doing the drive. Um, so we launch the church on January 26th, 2020. So that
Uh-oh.
was 4 weeks before the pandemic. So great launch day. I think, exceeded our expectations of attendance, and we were excited. Of course, that always gets tempered for most church planners once they see the offering from that launch day. We're like, oh, we had all these people, but we can't afford to pay our bills. Thank God for people like Excel who will come alongside you for the early days and and to help. And so yeah, so thankfully I remember even that morning or that afternoon counting the offering. I think um, over at Journey Church, you guys had sent a check in the mail that helped us cover our rent for that week. So I don't think it was, I think someone came and dropped it off actually
Yeah. I think it
at the
was Jeff
service.
Wells.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, we've adopted that. We try to pay that forward as much as we can whenever a new church comes to town. So thank you for that. That was really meaningful.
Huh. Now, so your launch right before COVID, because you didn't really get didn't get
Yeah,
any
we
advance
didn't
notice.
pray enough to get that prophetic insight.
How was it during COVID?
Well, yeah, it was tough. I think yeah, I don't think our journey is any more difficult than others, but it was definitely not an easy season. One of the benefits is that we didn't have a bunch of like set expenses we had to worry about, like a lease or a bunch of employees to pay. So on that front was probably less stressful than a lot of the other pastors I know. On the other side, we had no built-in relational equity with anybody.
Yeah.
So we tried everything we could, online small groups the first few months, online sermons. We actually really high production value just to try to like keep people attention during that time. Calling people, trying to check in on them, just trying to hold some semblance of this community together. I think the weeks leading up to COVID, our community averaged maybe about 150 a Sunday, other than the launch day, which is always, exaggerated. By the time we returned for outdoor services in the summer of 2020, our church was about 35-40 people, the same launch team we had started with.
Oh my.
So, yeah, so launch large. Yeah, that worked for us. So just blew a bunch of money, but we didn't know,
Yeah.
So just started building slowly from there. And God was faithful. And I think we felt like we relaunched the church about 3 or 4 times during the first 3 years. It was coming into outdoor services, and then we first got to do indoor, and then we had to go outdoor again, and then we got to go indoor again. And at the time there were people that didn't want to do one or the other, so it was like you're almost starting over again. And then there was the California exodus that happened in 2021 and then again in 2022. In summer of 2022, we had 4 large families leave all in the same 2-week period, all going out of state. And so our church of whatever it was, 75, 80, that was a quarter of our congregation. So it was just kind of one of those up and down, just stay at it kind of seasons. And so just by God's grace, we came out on the other side, barely, So yeah, it was a tough season. I think very formative though too for me as a leader. I think even for the church, just in our nation, I think coming in before COVID, I think there was this play, at least in my mind, and the people I talked to, there's this playbook of like how to do church that everyone's kind of following, and this is what Bill Hybels said, this is what Rick Warren said, and we're all sort of like following these different methods. And then COVID comes and it's like just throw the whole thing out and go back to just following the cloud and relying on the Spirit, and some principles still apply, but and I think that's really helpful for us, because now kind of coming to the other side, we really are just trying to be ourselves and do what the Lord asks us to do. And if someone has an idea that seems to fit that a little bit that we can tweak, we'll use it. But yeah, I think it was in many ways, even though it was tough, it was a very formative time for us.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's good to hear you're seeing the perspective there. And then Tim Coburn comes back on the scene.
Yeah, so we had hung out periodically. Him and Vanessa had been really great. They'd invited a bunch of other church planners to their home right in the middle, right in the heart of the pandemic, and just said, hey, we know there are rules about this, but we would love, if you want to come over, we'd love to just provide a space for you to unburden and know that you're not alone in this. So that was a really meaningful little dinner that we had with several other church planners and their families, sharing our wounds and our pain. So we had some connection, and I knew that they had a desire to go plant in Portland at some point, or do some sort of ministry in the Portland area prior to even the pandemic. They were trying to discern that, and then the pandemic hit, and they were just like, well, wait, we're going to stick this out. We can't abandon our church right now. So in the middle of this. So at the other side of that, he reached out to me in the fall of 22, asking if we could merge our churches together.
So how did that happen? Tell that story.
Okay. Like I said, I had sort of had some conversation with him about like, hey, we feel like maybe we're going to leave. And I'd be like, no, bro, don't go. And so when he texted me on a Monday morning and said, hey, bro, what do you think about merging our churches together? I had a feeling it had something to do with their just sense of calling towards a new direction. So I figured maybe I could talk him out of it again.
Just kind of a random text.
Yeah, random text on a Monday morning. I like, maybe he had a rough service on Sunday, So my response to the text was, hey, let's meet for coffee tomorrow. And my thought was, by tomorrow, he'll change his mind. Maybe I could just encourage him a little bit, and we'll be all right. So we met together at what's the coffee place? It's now Mast Coffee. I forget the name of it before that. And so we met together, and he said, hey, I've already informed the elders where we feel a call to the Northwest, and we don't have someone to, kind of take the reins, and our lease is coming up. So basically we've got a few weeks to figure this out. Otherwise we're going to shut the church down. And I said, good luck with that, man. I'm praying for you. At the time, I just felt like, we were in Elk Grove. So it's not crazy far, but it's definitely not close to Midtown Sacramento where they were. So we're about a 20-minute drive if you happen to hit all green lights. and no traffic on the freeway. So, yeah, so that was it. I thought, I'll pray for you. I hope you find somebody here, maybe reach out to some other folks. But when I got home and started talking to Jen, at first, both of us were like, man, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's not going to be us. And, and then we just started kind of talking through, hey, what would that look like? Like, where are our people coming from anyways? And we started to sort of like take a map and put some pins down and realize like, actually, most of our church is not going to be driving any further than they already are. There are a few people that live near our church, but there will come a day if we were meeting at a community center. So if we ever move to another facility, they're going to have to move anyway. So why not now? So we just started, okay, we're interested. Let's have more conversations. And so 8 weeks later, we were one church. So we got the book Better Together, which recommends an 8 to 10 month process to discern and move forward with a merger. We just did every month in a week. So yeah, but it's just amazing what happens when there's a grace on it from the Lord, and every kind of like thing that you bump into that would normally be a roadblock just like seems to not be one at all. It's kind of a green light instead. You get to the next sort of stopping point, and it's a green light as well. We just kept going one step at a time. There was never a time where we were like, yeah, for sure, we want, this is the Lord's will. We were just saying like, we were trying to discern, is it the Lord's will for us to take the next step? So every week it was like, okay, we'll take another step. We'll take another step until we got to the point where we were signing documents to make two churches one. So that was December of 2022.
How has it gone?
Great. Yeah. Really well. I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. Number one, we really did feel like the Lord has been in it. Number two, Tim and Vanessa are just incredible leaders and so gracious and loving and just made it easy. Them and their team like created a really great runway for us to sort of land on, if you will, and made it easy for us to come in, and they supported us and they stayed on for a few months to kind of assist in the transition, give me a lot of advice with their knowledge of the people that are part of their community. So yeah, went really well. By the end of year one, I was being challenged. We needed to move to two services, but I just felt it was too early. So we waited another 6 to 8 months, but then we had to move to a second service last year, and continue to see steady growth. But I think more than just numerical growth, there's just a lot of encouraging spiritual hunger in the community for deep community, for deep discipleship and spiritual formation. And so that's really encouraging. So, I don't know about you, but as a pastor, there's only a few seasons that I can recall where I feel like I have to like fire people up or light a fire into them to go serve Jesus. They just want to do it. And it's been like that for a lot of our community the last couple of years. Just people really want to serve Jesus. And that's encouraging. Um, so, yeah, so been pretty smooth, almost too smooth. We're just still waiting for the shoe to drop.
Well, shoes always drop, but keep going, keep pushing it.
That's right.
Well, hey, thanks for telling your story. Let's end with this. Give us a leadership tip. You've been around the block and skated through quite a few things in your life. What's your leadership tip?
I was thinking about this because you mentioned we may be talking about that. I think if I was to give a leadership tip to church planners, something that I did not realize for the first few years, now going back and realizing some things I had neglected, and probably would have saved me a lot of trouble if I had known that our calling is a sacred calling, but it's not as much about the type of church we're building. It's about the person we're becoming. And I really believe the primary call for a believer is to the character of Christ first. And so the Lord will put you in different settings, whether it be a church plant or elsewhere. And you think oftentimes, well, I'm called to this. But actually, this is just a facade for the Lord to do the real work, which is to form you into his character and his nature. And I neglected that, I think, for the first couple of years. I got pretty head down in church planting. And I realized at the end of 2021, we were in a good sort of at the end of that year, we were in a really good, strong place before the next California Exodus. We've finally seen a few Sundays in a row where over 100 people were like, yes, we finally made it again. And I realized that my soul was not in a good place, that I was further from Jesus than I had been. I was not a great husband or father in many ways during that season. And I realized I can't keep doing this or I'm going to I could gain a whole big ministry and lose my soul. And so that sort of started a journey for me to realize and recognize that what's more important is what's happening inside of a person. And that's what sustains your ministry for the long haul. And it sustains your family as well through it. I want to get to the other side of this and have my kids love the church and love Jesus and have a healthy, strong marriage and a great environment for grandkids potentially to be raised. And so, what he's doing in you is more important than what he's doing through you. And I think it took me a while to figure that out. So I would encourage church planners in that. And then if I had to add one more thing, I'd just say, be yourself. Let what he does through you just shine through. And people who are the Lord is calling to join you will be attracted to that thing. Usually it looks different than what everybody else is doing in town. And so don't feel like you have to follow some playbook or pattern that everybody else is following.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Really appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate you, Sean, your perseverance, your openness to merge a church from a text. I've never heard of that before. Hey, let's merge our churches. What do you think?
Yeah. I was not expecting that either.
And you can write the book Accelerated Better Together or something like that.
Hey, I don't know about that.
Thanks so much for being on with us today.
Yeah, thank you, JD. Thank you for all the support you've been for us over the years, and love you and what Excel is doing, and looking forward to what God's got in store for the future.
God bless.
Cool. All right, man.
Christian Community Credit Union is America's leader in biblical banking solutions. As a trusted ministry partner of Excel Leadership Network, they are dedicated to serving ministries in all life stages of growth. Whether you're planting a new church or expanding, Christian Community Credit Union will come alongside your ministry to help you grow so you can serve more. They offer low-rate ministry loans as well as products to maximize your ministry's money, including high-interest checking, savings, and CDs. Take the next step and learn more at mycccu.com/excel. That's mycccu.com/excel. Membership eligibility is required. Thanks for joining the Leading Conversations podcast. We hope that you found it both helpful and encouraging. At Excel Leadership Network, our focus is on the church planter rather than the church. If you'd like to find out more about us, visit our webpage at excelnetwork.org. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. See you next time with another Leading Conversation.